your greatness. Namaste from this beautiful part of the world, India. And I'm Anu Krishna, the host of Unfear Sutra. And you've been seeing me after after episode with such beautiful souls. And yes, I have a beautiful soul today with me. It's none other than Kunle Pelemo, KP from Nigeria. Hi, KP.
Wow, Anu, how are you doing? So good
Oh,
to
well.
be here.
Yeah, it's just amazing that every time we call Kunle, there's always not just a learning, there's so much of fun in what he's going to share. And today's episode in this series is going to be about unfearing failure. I mean, you heard that right. Yes, fear of failure. Everyone knows what that feeling is all about. Yeah, like just now, that's what I have. Okay, it's KP, it's Kunle. Oh my God, am I going to do my best? That's what is sticking in my head. But I'm sure Kunle has something in store for us to know how can we transcend this? How can we get unstuck from this? Because failure is a part of our life. So here on Unfear Sutra, the podcast, and also look us up on YouTube and Spotify, Unfear Sutra. So without much ado, let's get to know who is Kunle. He's also called KP, multi-talented nation building and knowledge business strategist. He is the CEO of Kuntrol Headquarters International Limited. He is an advocate of mental health and suicide prevention in Nigeria and Africa at large. And I have the privilege of working with this beautiful, beautiful soul. He's currently the Chief Mental Health Strategist of Mycarebuddy Limited, a foremost online mental health care service provider in Nigeria. Is there something that you can't do, Kunle? I don't know. He is a Global Goodwill Ambassador, Humanitarian in Nigeria, and also an ambassador for Cuenta Conmigo NGOs in Argentina. I hope I got that right. Those of you, please don't throw anything at me. Kunle hosts a mental health awareness and suicide prevention weekly show on 2 online radio stations in UK, MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK. And to unquote him, the mind, an asset to us all, the use, the difference between us all. Kunle, I have no idea how you came up with this. When I read it, and then I reread it, and then it was like, oh my God, you are very well on your way to becoming a great philosopher of this, yeah, of this century.
Look at the way
So,
I'm laughing.
so Kunle, let's jump right into this, and so happy to have you here. So do tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you and your background. Where's
Okay.
Kunle? I mean, I know Kunle my way. Now let's hear Kunle from Kunle. Over to you, brother.
Thank you so much, Anu. I've just been smiling, laughing. The energy, right in the room, how I wish people can feel it. And I'm sure they are feeling it already, is absolutely positive and superb. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for the privilege. I really don't take such for granted. A little bit about myself. You've mentioned some of those things. At a point, like you said, I used to ask myself, what is it that I don't do? Because I believe that I have that capacity. Life is all about expression, to express every part of me, be it speaking, be it singing, be it impacting people, positively with even the way I do. I mean, there are times that I don't even have to speak before people begin to notice something. So I carry an energy that I really know that it's as a result of my heart. But I used to tell people that when people see me, I don't want them to see what I'm wearing or my face. What I want them to see first is my heart. I mean, because that's the core of everybody. That's the core of everybody. And so when people see your heart, when people connect to your heart, they are connecting to something greater than you. I mean, I can pull up the jacket that I am wearing. I can pull up the shirt. I can pull up, I can have my hair cut. I know you're used to seeing me on this haircut, but I can have it cut at a point in time. but that doesn't change the heart, because the heart is where everything stems from. So I am that a person who really believe in impacting lives, and that's what I've been doing for over 2 decades, since when I became cognitive of this, while I was in school, helping people. And that transcended to when I started even working in the corporate world. And at a point in time, and some of those things I'm going to say while we're discussing unfair failure, when I had to transit from the corporate world to working for myself, and also to impacting life, building people, building nations, generally. So that has been who I am. It's not really about what I do, it's about my person, it's about who I am. That's major thing. So in years to come, you can see KP doing some other things, but one thing that you will be sure of is the fact that he is impacting life, he is fulfilling what he is called to do. So that's a little bit I can say about me.
As usual, you're being absolutely modest, okay? And I've been honored and really, I feel privileged every time we've done something together, because I like what you mentioned. It's life is all about expression. And when the heart is involved in that expression, right? When your conscious mind literally shuts off to the logical way of looking at things, somehow the heart just takes over and just keeps singing. And that's the energy that people pick off of you. Now you realize why people love Kunle. So that's Kunle for you all the way from Nigeria, sharing a piece of his heart energy with you and ready to impact us today. So Kunle, to my next question, right? A lot of people have different definitions. I mean, if you look at the encyclopedia, it'll tell you, oh, failure is this, failure is that. And I think right from school, we are meant to look at failure in a particular way. If I don't get these grades, I fail. I don't achieve this, I fail. That there is an association with the word failure. So what, according to you, is failure? What does it really mean to you or the people that you've been working with as a coach, as a mentor, as a guide? And as a society, have we programmed ourselves or allowed ourselves to be conditioned and programmed by, oh my God, I've failed? That's that overwhelming thought of, oh my God, I have failed. So over to you on this. Do throw some light on that.
Thank you so much, Hanu. Wonderful question, and a wonderful place to start with everybody who is watching. And that comes the question, and that might be the question at the tip of the tongue of everybody, who is familiar with our word failure. And I'm sure the word failure is even more popular than the word success or some other words in our world, because everybody, in one way or the other, we have heard it. When you are going to school, or when you are learning a particular, as an apprentice or whatever, then you are warned about failure. Do not fail. Do not bring reproach to this family. You must not fail. Everybody will tell you something as such. But that comes the question that what is even the definition of failure? Because as a result of the fact that we are bombarded by a whole lot of things coming from people, as a result of people perspective, people perception, people conception, and that is how we have come to define failure by ourselves. So if you drop out of school, and then your family members will say, nobody has ever done that in the family, so that means you are a failure. And that tends to box people, because we don't even tend to define what failure is based on our own cognitive ability or what we know or what we have been through, but we tend to see failure from the glasses or from the spectacles of other people, of what the culture has said, of what the people has said, of what your father has said, of what your mother has said, of what the nation has said. Because there are some cultural things that people will say, yeah, this is peculiar to a particular nation, and if you don't do it this way, that means you are a failure. And as a matter of fact, we tend to now see failure as the result that we don't like, and forgetting the fact that somehow something that you don't like, someone else might like that particular thing. So when we get a result that we don't like, we call it failure. not really taking to consideration that failure itself, that particular thing itself, it's a result on its own. So if you begin to embrace that thing and look at it from a different perspective or perception, then somehow maybe you might not even call it as a failure. So how do I define failure for people who are watching right now? To me, failure is the meaning we read to a particular event. So somehow it is not necessarily because that event is bad or that result is bad, but basically as a result of what people have told us about it, as a result of what society had programmed in our mind. And you know what meaning carries? It's very powerful, because when something happens, we attach meaning to it. And that meaning generates a corresponding emotion in us. So that means when you see the result and the result is reading 30%, and because it's been said that the bar that for success is set at 40%, but when you see 30, then you read meaning to it. And then that meaning generates an emotion in you. Then you are sad, your head is down, you're a little bit cold. And then that is how you begin to carry it. Now, for example, if the bar is dropped and the lecturer says 30 is a pass mark, so what has changed? It's the meaning. So it is not the result that changed, but it is the meaning that changed. So somehow, to me, failure is more about the meaning we read to things rather than the result, because result is, a result happens. So it is whether you accept it or not. That's what determines whether it's a failure or otherwise.
That is so amazing. And for those of you who've joined us now, this is Unfear Sutra, and we're joined from Nigeria with none other than KP, Kunle Pelemo, a global mental health strategist. He's amazing. The things that he talks, the way he inspires is just going to move you to take massive action. Trust me on this one. So we've been chatting up a little bit about the definition of failure, and that's what we're talking today about, unfearing failure. And I like what you said, Kunle, about it's about attaching what there is. I guess it's the outcome. It's the outcome that we're conditioned to look at that outcome and say, oh, someone told me that this is not okay, so I am a failure. And that's the identity statement that we start carrying. And then there is that entire being. I know how much you work with people on mental health. We face the challenges of people coming in saying, I'm a failure. I don't think I can do this. Just because somebody has showed you the way as to how failure looks like. And I like what you said. What if we reframe the way it looks like, right, for ourselves? What if we said that failure is actually feedback? Would that change the way we start looking at it? Would we still continue to fear failure then? No, it's a stepping stone to success. All these things are so beautiful in books, right? Failure is a stepping stone to success. When is it we're going to be taking it onto ourselves? Why is it that society is willing to put that label on us and tell us, you have not done this, so which means you're a failure? So that brings me to the next question for you, and I hope you find this interesting, because I know every viewer and listener wants to know this, that in the area of work that you do, and you're doing brilliant work, how do you guide and teach people to unfear this failure? What is it that you do? Someone walks in and tells you, oh my God, the presentation went bad. I failed to lose weight that I wanted to. My relationship failed. There are so many different things that you might be, encountering with your clients. So how do you guide them to do that? And if there's one remarkable breakthrough, and why I want this remarkable breakthrough to be shared, if it is okay for you to share, is then people know that you and I really mean business, and we're not just cooking up a story. This is like real life. We're working. Kunle here is working with people tirelessly day in and day out, taking care of their mental health, teaching them how that they can take charge of their life. So if you were to tell us, What are those experiences when,
Ah,
yeah.
thank you so much, Anu. Great question. You keep coming up with wonderful questions that will pull from the deep, you know. So somebody like me who, I mean, I do a lot of things. So I'm used to failure. And a whole lot of people will wonder, because we want to see people who will come and tell us things that we like, that I've never failed. I've run businesses. I have 1,001 businesses, and I've been running them smoothly. These are the things that people will want to listen to, because that's the way we have been conditioned. And if you were writing and you're telling people that you can fail, people will not even want to read about the book. But it's about you, like I said earlier on, about you now changing the meaning. And that's where the power lies now, because it's in the moment whereby you create that tweak and you change the meaning. That is where the power is. Now, let me give you what I call the tripod of failure, what people call it. It's like a triangle. Number one, it starts from a perception rather, or a perspective of people. That's the first leg of the triangle. And the next thing now, it comes back to you, and then it creates a perspective also in you. So if people tell you that if you drop out of school, or if you make this particular thing, or if you don't get married at a particular stage, or if you don't get rich at a particular stage, you are a failure. Now, it might be as a result of what society had grown into. You don't even know about it. So they say it to you, and then you take it, you imbibe it. So it moves from the first leg to the second leg, then it becomes your own reality, becomes your own perception. It becomes the perspective through which you also view whether you are a failure or otherwise. And then after a period of time, you know what happens now? The circle now begins to regenerate itself, and it becomes a culture. It becomes a way of life. So that means without even questioning it, everybody now begins to work in light, and everybody begins to work in that direction. Somebody said it, you took it, you believe it, and then you start acting it. And then you pass it to your children, and your children pass it to their children, and it continues that way. And that's why I might call it the failure culture that we have built over a period of time. And it's like a fortress trying to hold us down. And it starts from here. The way we view things, the way people view us, just like the word you use, it's like a label. So, and it starts from us now, creating a shift in the meaning. Question it by yourself. Does it mean if I don't get married at age 40, does that change a lot about me? What are the things involved? How am I different from somebody who got married at the age of 23? Do we carry the same gene? Are we exposed to the same or different condition? Are we living under the same condition? What are those things that I am exposed to? I mean, we need to now begin to now carry that meaning based on our own individual perspective and perception. That's how it works. So if you know that this is peculiar to you, just like you talk about your uniqueness as a person, as an individual in life, that same way, you must be the one who will define failure by yourself. And what that means is that you need to now see that if something happens, like we said, it's like a feedback, it's like a result. What can I learn from it? Then you see that the meaning has changed, because I have done a whole lot of things that didn't work. But what I know is that the fact that I did it and it didn't work means I tried. I mean, that gladdens my heart. So what I used to tell people is that change the meaning Just tweak the meaning like this, and everything will change in its entirety.
Change the meaning, and the feeling within you changes, and that change in feeling can change the way you actually take action, right? I mean, the very next step, you draw it from that inspiration within yourself. And I like this tripod that you spoke of. That's such a beautiful thing. Perspective of people, moving on to perspective of the self. And once we start, and it's like taking out, your sunglasses and saying, okay, this has become old, this isn't doing anything good to me. Take it, put a
Exactly.
new one, look at the world and yourself with better eyes, more
Mm,
useful pair of eyes. And then it starts to become a culture that becomes a source of your being. And I really like that, because then you're going to, it's going to percolate down to your entire circle of influence, your
yeah,
family, your friends, your business circles, or wherever you are. So it starts to radiate from you. I love that. Just picking off when you were talking, there's something that came up in my mind. Do you feel, Kunle, that sometimes
mm,
the weight of success, or the meaning that people have attached to success, is just something that makes us look at failure in a far different way? I know we've been focusing on fearing failure, but I
mm,
just want to have this, a sudden tweak, saying, is this that we give so much of importance to success that we've forgotten that if we could just tweak the meaning of failure, it could do wonders to us? So are we throwing our focus too much on success here? What do you think?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we are not saying success is overrated, but somehow what I'm going to even add to that is the fact that we have so much put focus on the result to the extent that we forget about the process. We have so much focused on the result. I mean, if you have a bread as the end product, remember it starts as a flour that you need to mix a whole lot of ingredients to it. And so while you're doing that, that is absolutely instrumental to you getting the bread at the end of the day. But what if you are just a baker who does not even have regard for process? And then all you're just focusing on is that I want bread. And then you just concoct a whole lot of things, put junks together, and you don't even care about the timing, about when to put it there. I mean, what you're going to get will definitely become something horrible that people will not even like. And that's what most of us do. We tend to get focused on the result. We tend to get focused on success. Yeah, I want a good bread. And then we forget about the process. And somehow in the process, something might happen that we need to learn from, just like that word. It might be you learning 99 ways of not doing it. That is success on its own. But we tend to take that and put it in the trash can, knowing full well that all we want, all that society had really, packed together and given to us is that the end product must be this. This is how it should be.
And then there was a philosopher who said that it's about the journey and not the destination. And today, Kunle, who's very well on his way to becoming the philosopher of this century, says it so beautifully. And we're joined with Kunle Pelemo, all the way from Nigeria, folks. And it's so, so beautiful to have each one of you tune in, listen to us, and be willing to get inspired by Kunle. Thank you so much, Kunle. I loved the perspective. And there's one thing that I'm consistently getting from you is about the meaning that we attach. And it's so powerful.
Mm,
As a message, that's what I've been getting from you. The meaning we attach to different things. And it makes me, there was one time that I was working with a child. So I take an apple and I go to the child. There were two children actually. I said, what's this color? The one says red. The other one says, no, it's pink. And then it gave me a good feedback back to me in saying, they're right. That's their meaning to that fruit, right? Who's right and
mm,
who's wrong. So
mm,
I like what you've been mentioning, Kunle, about attaching your own meaning. If only we could take one step If only we could start to appreciate our journey more than attaching ourselves to that outcome, comparing ourselves with somebody else, and then declaring and labeling ourselves a failure, and also telling ourselves, hey, you know what? It's just feedback. How wonderful. I think, wouldn't we all be doing some sort of a service to ourselves here? I think we would. So, coming back to you, Kunle, let's say that there are, multitude of people, and like I said, we are talking about unfearing failure here. So we're talking about people literally proclaiming that they are failure in, in
Yeah.
relationships, and it's an identity statement. People, we're talking about, I'm a failure in relationships,
Mm.
I'm a failure at the job that I do, I'm a
Yeah.
failure in class, I'm a failure at driving, and whoa, 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 there's like the entire works, right?
Yeah.
If somebody came to you, and we talk about elevator pitches all the time, let's say you had just a couple of minutes and you saw somebody droning and pulling himself or herself down by these statements,
Mm.
how would you get them unstuck? Because today we are in a fast-paced world. Everybody wants quick fixes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are not in a zen-like state. We want those quick fixes. What would you tell this person? How would you literally move them, nudge them from getting unstuck, taking that
Mm.
massive action? What
Mm.
would the great KP, the philosopher of this century, do for us? Over to you, KP.
Thank you so much, Anu. Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, what you're saying, very, very, I mean, on point. I'm stemming from personal experience, because a whole lot of people have been prevented from doing what they are supposed to do because of the fear, of failure. The factor that, failure had been so much magnified in the society and had been painted in such a way, that people recognize it more than, the result or the success on its own. I could remember when I was transiting from the corporate world to having my own business and to also impacting people. It was looking as if I was about to fail in the corporate world. That's like the notion. Now you need to, people will begin to suggest that you need to rise, you need to climb the ladder. And I was wondering, who creates the ladder? Is it the people, or do I have a ladder that I also have for myself? Those are the things. And as a matter of fact, a whole lot of people had stopped or had even avoided some of the things that might be like, a break for them as a result of this particular thing that we are talking about. What I used to tell people, I have three words, and it's an acronym that I call whenever I want to talk about people, in pulling them from either from their mental state that is down, or this failure factor that we are talking about, and I call it GMC. And somehow coincidentally it tallies with an American automobile. And maybe if they are watching, which I know they will watch later on, they should come over here now, bring money and sponsor Unfear Sotra, somehow. Yeah, that's the thing. So it is called GMC, and GMC stands for, number one, gratitude. Because what the fear of failure does, or when you begin to see yourself as a failure, the first thing is the blame game that comes with it. You begin to blame yourself. And when you blame yourself, you rob yourself of that gratitude of even trying, of that gratitude of doing, or of even being you. That's what it does. And when you rob yourself of that, it has a whole lot of ripple effect on your own personality, on your mental health, and even your overall health. So what I tell people is, even if you get the wrong result, or the result that you don't desire, first and foremost, try and show some form of gratitude, because gratitude connects you with yourself. It connects you even with what you are doing as well. It makes you see a whole lot beyond what people had told you about it. Sometimes when you missed road and you are so hard on yourself, well, why did I do this? Somebody said that, Why do you think that when you're using your Google map and you missed road somehow, the Google map, the Siri talking didn't even shout at you? Because they know that if it shouts at you, the next time you will not even make use of it. When it says, oh, well, you dumb, why don't you follow that? I told you to follow this place, but you refused. Why? It didn't shout at you. It will just immediately and instantaneously reroute you and ask to, and take you through the nearest or the best possible way to get back on track. The same way. That's what gratitude does. It connects you back. It makes you feel and become aware of yourself so that you can take yourself back on the journey, even after that so-called failure. 2 is mindfulness. That's the act of staying in the present. You can't be present and then see yourself as a failure because you are aware of yourself and you have totally now blocked your mind or your thought against every other flashes that are just outside your perception, what the people say, because you are constantly with yourself. That doesn't mean you will not plan, but let us make sure now we are present now, because it is when you are present, then you'll be able to think and do a lot about the future. So gratitude first, that's G. Mindfulness second, that's M. And the next one, which is the last, that's C, talks about that thing that is peculiar to everybody. You know, when you fail, when people talk about failure, a whole lot changes about them. And one of those things that change is the way they breathe. It changes a lot. And you see them panting, or even the fear of failure. I don't want to fail. You know, when you want to invest in a business or when you want to start a particular project, a whole lot begin to happen and you begin to breathe differently. Listen, one thing I advise people to do now, just before you do that, remember to breathe. Take your time to be conscious about your breathing. And that's what I call conscious breathing. It is your breath and it is common to you. It is peculiar to you. You know what that tells you? It tells you that you are alive, because that's the common denominator, you know, between every one of us. Consciously breathe. It might be for 5 minutes. It will revitalize a lot about you, change your perspective, bring you into that awareness of being present, which is mindfulness. And then the fact that you can breathe can make you even show a form of gratitude. Can't you see how interconnected they are? GMC, it works a lot. So when you are afraid of failing, it's because you've not been able to practice these 3 things that I have said. Do them and you will see you take the power away from the failure.
Ah, that is so powerful, and you can feel the energy in this room, in this very moment. The way it's gentle, it's forceful, yet so inspiring. GMC, gratitude, mindfulness,
Mindfulness,
conscious
conscious
breathing.
breathing.
I can just feel the energy of each of those words, and it is so apt, especially when we are anxious, when we are panicking, or we have decided to attach ourselves so much to the outcome that we forget, hey, where am I going to begin from? I mean, just imagine, Kunle, if all the sports people in the world were to get anxious, I don't think, I mean, they are tuned to know that that's the goalpost.
Mm.
It could be from here, you hit the goal, from here, here, here. They have alternate ways of reaching the goal. And that's something that I find very inspiring from sports people. They don't give up. We are not meant to give up, guys. And that's what Kunle is here to say. And Unfear Sutra with Kunle Pelemo. So Kunle, if you were to tell us, I mean, something like, I won't say inspiring words, but in your own way, if you were to share something impactful, something inspiring that you want people to do right now, at this very moment, this fruitful moment that's now, what would you tell them and why?
Great, great. What I'm going to tell everybody watching now will definitely be that quote of mine that you read out earlier on. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm telling you that the mind is an asset to us all. The use is the difference between us all. The reason why a whole lot of people are afraid of failure is because they don't have that unstoppable mindset. Unstoppable mindset allows you to get a result that is not desirable, but you give it a second shot. You give it a third shot. You just spoke about something that I love so much. I'm a football fan. I watch football almost every weekend, you know. And one thing that is so peculiar to them is that capacity for them to dare to fail, because before what you call brilliance in terms of what they execute, I mean, we have some stunners, maybe goals, and everybody screams. It's a millisecond that determines that particular thing. Should I shoot? If I shoot and it became so horrible, people will laugh at me. People will say, you are a failure. But if you do it and it comes out so good, then people will say, wow, what a brilliant goal. But that millisecond of taking that action, doing it, daring to fail, that makes it the brilliance that we call. Have an unstoppable mindset, dare to fail sometimes, and then reroute yourself, re-strategize. I mean, that's why in the military, there is a word called retreat. To retreat doesn't mean you have failed. It's just a way of coming back to re-strategize, get back to the board, get back to the drawing board. How do we go again? It can't just be advance and advance and advance and advance, but that's just a way you can get back to yourself. So failure might be just a way that you need to retreat to get back. Once you have an unstoppable mindset, you cannot stop.
Kunle Pelemo. You never, I mean, it's like you amaze us, you surprise us in the most beautiful manner. And one thing, many things stood out. One thing is the meaning we attach to things, the way we begin to feel the minute we change the meaning. The tripod, I love that. I mean, it's so genuine, it's so beautiful, so authentic, so Kunle. Let me say the perspective of the people leading to the perspective of the self, leading to us changing from within, that culture that we bring about. We talk about change, everything. It's like you change. How about looking at ourselves and saying, how can I bring about that culture change, which starts from me? And that beautiful saying, unstoppable mindset. And where do we get that from? The GMC. Guys, that's where you take from being unstuck to taking that massive action, because inaction is not being human at all. We need to keep doing things. For that, we need to change the way we look, we feel from within. And that GMC, gratitude for everything and anything, even failure. That's supposed to teach you things, people. That's what Kunle said, right? And he's the guru. He is the guru. Remember this, guys. Remember mindfulness, appreciating what's in it for me at this very moment. This moment is the only truth for us, right? Everything else is the past or the future. We have no knowledge of the future, and the past is just gone. So this moment, live here, and conscious breathing. I cannot emphasize that more. I'll second and echo what you said. It's just taking one step back, becoming an observer of your own life, and go back to the drawing board, just like Kunle said, and wow, you are just going to rock it, just like Kunle does with his people. Kunle, I love what you shared with us. And here we are, people. Unfear Sutra with Kunle Pelemo, mental health strategist, Global Goodwill Ambassador. I mean, no words to describe this beautiful human being all the way from Nigeria. So my gratitude, Kunle.
Namaste.
So beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Loads and loads of love to each one of you who's been listening to us and watching us. Stay tuned for the next episode on Unfear Sutra, where we'll have more and more and more and more beautiful human beings. Thank you. Thank you so much. Unfear Sutra.